I uninvited my brother's long-term girlfriend to my wedding 12 days before. My brother had been with his girlfriend, whose name is also Sarah, for about 4 years. Their relationship was a little bit strange, but I'd always quite liked her. We kind of had minimal interaction, so there wasn't much for me to go on, but from what I had seen, she was all right. Now, the reason we hadn't met her that much was because they're from two very different religions, and she couldn't introduce her family to him because her family would pretty much disown her. And I was very understanding about this. I thought it was quite romantic, a bit like Romeo and Juliet. So whenever someone would bring it up, I always had her back. But unfortunately, me and dear Sarah ended up having a little run-in. You see, Sarah had a very swanky flat in South Kensington, and she'd throw quite lavish parties from time to time. She'd never invited me before, but this one time she invited me, which I thought was a little bit odd. It was a Halloween party, and she asked me to bring my makeup kit with me. I'd only just started doing makeup at this point, so I was really honoured, and to be honest, I was looking forward to having a little bit of something to put in my portfolio. So I turn up, and I kind of stand in the corner like a member of staff, and do all of her rich friends' makeup. No one offers to pay me or tip me or anything, but again, I'm not that worried because, again, I want these pictures for my portfolio. We head off to a night out, and to be honest with you, it's not my cup of tea. You could probably see that on my face. So at some point in the night, she kind of tosses me her keys and tells me if I want to go, I can. It's not the normal Sarah that I'm used to. There's no pleasantry. She doesn't seem best impressed that I don't look impressed with her swanky party. I think it's a bit odd, but I'm not bothered. I get an Uber home. When I get there, I take my makeup off and I go to sleep on the sofa. And around like 4 a.m, they all come in. Sarah starts to scream. She's not happy because I'm asleep on her sofa. Her ugly green sofa. Because that sofa, apparently, I would come to find out, because she screamed it at me, that sofa was in fact more expensive than my car. She actually said that. You couldn't make it up. She genuinely said that. So her and my brother start to have a fight because obviously he's not impressed with how she's speaking to me. He storms out and she tells me to go into her room. She literally spoke to me as if I was like a 7-year-old child who was being banished. I'm like, whatever, I just don't want to be thrown out in the middle of Kensington in the middle of the night, so I'm quite happy to go and get in bed. And to be honest, I would have gone in her bed in the first place, but I just thought it was more polite to sleep on the sofa. Anyway, a few days later, I get a text message. She's very sorry, she'd had a lot to drink, blah, blah, blah. And I'm willing to let it go. I'm not that fussed. And as you can tell, I love to tell a good story. And I've really enjoyed telling all my family about what a weirdo this woman is. I was actually working in one of my brother's offices at this point, and we were really close. And one day, right by my 21st birthday, he rings me up. It's on a Saturday. I've literally just finished my last client, so it's about 6 p.m. And he asked me, did I want to go to Heston Blumenthal's restaurant? If you've never heard of this restaurant before, or this person before, don't worry, you're not alone, because I hadn't either. But those of you that are foodies will know that this restaurant costs about £500 per person to eat there. My first reaction is absolutely not. I do not have that sort of money, and even if I did, I would not be spending it on that. See, I'm saving to go travelling at this point. And I have just had my best Saturday on record in terms of doing makeup at the weekends, and I've made approximately £570. So even though I'm feeling like an absolute millionaire, my answer is a firm no. However, he goes on to tell me that him and Sarah have booked for 4 places at this meal, and because you have to pay a deposit to go there because it's so expensive, they're actually going to lose out on £200 because their friends can't go. So because of this, my brother's willing to pay for me. And I'm like, are you sure? It's a lot of money. He also wants my other half to come, so it's going to be like £1,000. He's like, of course, it's your birthday, of course. So I'm like, wow, this is a big thing. But to be honest, I'm also really knackered, so I just want to go to bed. I ring my husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, and I tell him the situation. And he's completely honoured that they would offer. So we agree to go. This restaurant is about 1 hour and 20 minutes from our house, so we literally have to leave right then and there in order to make it for 7:30. We get there, and the meal is as to be expected. It's completely like out of this world, nothing I've ever seen. They even like give you headphones and stuff to use for each dish. And I'm quite grateful for those headphones at certain points because this girl is really grating on me. She's made several comments at this point. Things along the lines of, I could really do with some Botox. Bear in mind, I am 21 years old at this point. She's not a looker herself, to be totally frank. She also makes some other very direct digs. She says that when her and my brother do get married, she will not be changing her last name because she doesn't like the name Sarah Humphreys, which is my actual name at that actual time. And the more drunk she's getting, the meaner she's being. Me and my other half had already decided not to drink. We didn't want to take the mick. When the menus came over and we saw the prices, we were certain we're definitely not going to drink, so we just stuck to water. The night continues. She carries on getting drunker and drunker until she's slurring her words, which is all very embarrassing. And at some point, my brother goes out to smoke and my husband goes with him. And we're left alone. I get my phone out because I'm trying to look busy. I do not want to speak to this woman. And she doesn't want to speak to me. She calls the waiter over and she asks for the bill. The waiter brings the bill over and she divides the bill. She looks at me and she says, "Your half is £1,000. Now the boys are nowhere to be seen and I have no signal because this restaurant is in the middle of nowhere. I would come to find out that my brother had convinced my partner to go and buy cigarettes with him. So they weren't coming back anytime soon. Now at this point, what I should have done was let her know that my brother had promised to pay for me. But I didn't. I didn't want to be known as a freeloader. So I reached in my little purse and I pulled out all the money I'd made that day and then I put the rest on a credit card. And I never spoke about it ever again, apart from to my partner, who I cried about it to, who sent me the money, bless him. Me and my partner end up going travelling after this point. I completely stopped speaking to my brother. I don't want anything to do with this little toxic relationship that they've got going on. We end up getting engaged. We set a date for our wedding. And my mum and dad kind of send like informal invitations out to all our siblings. And they don't tell me that they've also put that they can bring them other halves. I think they did that on purpose. So I found out 12 days before that this Sarah had actually been invited to my wedding. She thought she was going to come. She really thought she was going to come. So I decided to let her know. And it causes a massive fuss because she's already brought her shoes and her hat. And I really hope that she ended up wearing those Jimmy Choos somewhere really nice. But she didn't come to my wedding, and it did in fact cause them to break up, which was probably the best thing that ever happened, because now he's married to another lady who's lovely and they have a beautiful son together. I gave her a little Google this morning just because I was interested. I hadn't thought about that story for a while.